Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mental Reps by Mind Quarters. I'm Kelly Mara. For more than 25 years, I've practiced and taught yoga. And over all of those years, one of the things I've come to appreciate most is the incredible power of something we all do every single day, mostly without even thinking about it. We breathe. And I think the breath may be one of the most underused tools we have, not only for athletic performance, but for managing pressure, emotions, reactions, and some of the really challenging moments in life. Think about how much athletes invest in performance: equipment, training, strength and conditioning, nutrition, recovery, sleep, all incredibly important. But there's another performance tool that you carry onto every field, court, rink, track, pool, course, wherever you compete. It's free. It doesn't require equipment. You don't need an app. You don't need to charge it. And fortunately, it's pretty difficult to leave it at home. Your breath. And I'm not talking about box breathing or memorizing a complicated breathing technique. I'm talking about understanding something much more fundamental. Your breath affects your physiological state. Think about what happens when you're under pressure. Maybe you're about to compete. A referee makes a call you absolutely disagree with. Someone gets in your face. You're exhausted and the game is close. Your heart starts beating faster. Your muscles tighten. Your breathing can become faster and shallower. Your body is preparing you to respond. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're an athlete. You need activation. You need energy. You need adrenaline. The goal isn't to be completely calm when you're competing. The goal is to be able to regulate yourself so that your level of activation helps your performance instead of taking control of it. And this is where your breath becomes such an incredible tool. Breathing is unusual because it happens automatically. You don't have to remind yourself all day long to breathe, but you can also intentionally influence it. You can notice it. You can slow it down. You can allow yourself a longer, more complete exhale. And research on slow, controlled breathing has found that it can influence the autonomic nervous system, the system involved in things like heart rate, arousal, and our stress response. In other words, intentionally changing your breathing can help influence what's happening inside your body. That's pretty powerful. And you've had access to this tool your entire life. So here's your mental rep. The next time you feel yourself becoming overly activated during your sport, notice your breath. You don't need to make a big production out of it. Take one intentional breath. Allow the exhale to be slow and complete, and use it as a reset. Maybe you pair it with one simple word: next, here, ready. Then get back into what you're doing, because the goal isn't to remove the adrenaline. It's to regain enough control to decide what happens next. But here's where I want to take this beyond sports, because this tool isn't just for athletes. It's for every person listening. Think about the last time you were really angry, or embarrassed, or anxious, or someone said something that immediately set you off. Maybe you received a text that made your blood boil. Maybe you were arguing with a friend, a parent, a teammate, or a partner. We've all had those moments when our bodies seem to react before our thinking catches up. And this is where an idea often associated with psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl has always resonated with me. The idea is that between what happens to us and how we respond, there is a space. And within that space lies our ability to choose our response. Think about that. A space. And maybe one of the simplest ways we can learn to access that space is through our breath. Something happens, your body reacts, and instead of immediately following that reaction, you breathe, because you're giving your body and your brain a moment to catch up with each other, a moment to ask, what do I want to do next? In sports, that's the breath between the bad call and your response, between the missed shot and the next possession, between someone getting in your face and what you choose to do. But outside of sports, that space can become even more important. A breath before the words, a breath before the shove, a breath before hitting send, a breath before an emotional reaction becomes an action you can't take back. And this is where I think learning to regulate ourselves becomes much bigger than athletic performance. Organizations, including the World Health Organization, identify skills like emotional regulation, anger management, problem solving, and conflict resolution as important components of supporting young people's mental health and helping prevent violence. Of course, taking a breath isn't going to solve violence. Human behavior is far more complicated than that. But I sometimes wonder what our schools, our teams, our relationships, and even our world might look like if we taught people from a young age to recognize what was happening inside their bodies when they became angry, afraid, frustrated, or overwhelmed, and then gave them tools to regulate themselves before they acted. Imagine if creating that little bit of space became something we practiced: a breath, a pause, then a choice. That's a mental rep. And just like every other mental skill, you don't wait until the biggest moment of your life to try it. Practice when the stakes are low. Notice your breath during practice. Notice it when you're frustrated. Notice it when you're nervous. Notice it during an argument. Notice it when you're about to send the text you might regret later. You don't have to control every breath. Just start recognizing that you can influence it. I've spent more than 25 years teaching yoga, and after all that time, I still find something remarkable about the simplicity of the breath. We are already doing it. The tool is already there. The question is where we learn how to use it. So this week, practice creating that space. Notice, breathe, then choose what comes next. You already own the tool. It's free. It's always with you. Learn how to use it. That's your mental rep. And this is Mind Quarters, and your mind is your greatest strength.